We are live. What's up, everybody? We got the chat full. We got all our tater tots up in the chat here. We are live on YouTube. We're talking about the peak of human development, peak masculinity, the chinless pornographer and the king of waking people up from the Matrix, Andrew Tate, and his case today. And I've got two of some of my favorite Tate Twitter profiles, Milk Bar TV, who does way more than just Tate stuff, Milk Bar TV, and Common Sense Skeptic. Really happy to have these guys. We've done a Tate talk before, and we discussed the ins and outs of their case, the kind of psychological, the psyche of Tristan Tate and Andrew Tate, and the crazy allegations that have come out in the last few weeks warranted another stream to revisit the cases, because we've got so much new information, so many shocking allegations, and the case it's just compounded to become so much worse. Like, it is way worse than we initially thought. And initially it was pretty bad. I mean, initially it looked pretty bad for these for Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, but now it's looking worse. So I got Nathan from Milk Bar TV here. I've got Common Sense Skeptic. Both of them have YouTube channels. Their links for their channels are in the description of the YouTube videos, and I suggest you follow both of them on Twitter. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves real quick if I didn't do it sufficiently. Nathan, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me. Milk Bar TV, at the Milk Bar TV on X is probably the best platform for me. But no, I'm looking forward to having a good chat about this crazy. I mean, the past 2 months have been kind of nuts. Really, it's just completely gone up a gear. So anyway, we got a lot to cover.
Fantastic. I got a question for you about Milk Bar. Is that a reference to Clockwork Orange?
No, people think that, which I like. I mean, I love Clockwork Orange. I love Kubrick, but no, milk bars are they're an Australian thing. They're like convenience stores. So
Okay, nice.
yeah, so that's where it comes from.
All right, Common Sense Skeptic, welcome again, brother. Glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. He's got a YouTube channel as well. You want to tell people where they can find you and what they can
Common
get over?
Sense Skeptic, all one word, and you'll find Tate material there, as well as a lot of Elon Musk stuff, SpaceX, Tesla. We started the channel off with a lot of scientific debunking, and about a year and a half ago, we were told to start looking into this Andrew Tate character. Never heard of him before. Wish I'd never heard of him still, because this guy's just a piece of work, and getting the proper information out there for the people who need it is a public service that we're providing here, and I've been doing it since 2 Aprils ago.
Nice. And both of you guys have done such a good job at documenting this. You've got a series on your channel on YouTube, Common Sense Skeptic, that is actually linked in the description of this video. Matrix of Lies, the Andrew Tate series. And is that 8 videos? How many videos is it?
Yeah, it's got the 3 main. Then there's the interview that we did with the UK victims' lawyers that are suing him civilly for rape and assault. There's their news conference. There's the interview that we did with Jason Whitlock. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're up to about 8 on that series. Yeah, and we're working on another one like right now. I'm taking time off of that one to be here with you there tonight. So.
Oh, great. Do you, any spoilers? Any spoilers on the topic of that one, or is it going to be a surprise?
Yeah, Joe McBride, their American lawyer, recently did an interview, and we're going to rip him apart. That was with Tim Pool from Timcast IRL. So we've broken down that 20-minute segment from that 2-hour episode that they did. It was 1097, I think, Timcast IRL. And every lie that McBride says, we're bringing the receipts, just showing him to be the tool he is.
Well, that's a great opener there. That's a great opening topic, because I saw a couple clips from that. One that really sticks out in my mind is, I'm sure this will be a piece in your video, but McBride, I think he's done some other popular cases, right? Didn't he do like Rainier? Didn't he try to defend?
He did the appeal, right? Yeah.
He's the reason why Rainier got 120 years.
What a great choice by Andrew. I mean, you couldn't have happened to a better guy.
So is law firm out of a virtual office in New York.
Wow. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you could see just
700 305 Broadway, New York, New York. Virtual office for $149 a month. You too can open your law firm at 700 Broadway.
wow, how did Rainier get connected with this guy? I mean, Rainier had major connections with the Bronfman family, and like that's really surprising to me that he would
Well,
actually pick this
you got to
douche.
find someone who's willing to take you.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, you'd think he would be able to find some slick, Johnny Cochran type guy, but he goes for just a, the internet scam artist. It's pretty wild.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah,
how fitting for Tate to pick
work
him.
that one.
So one of the things
funny
that he
thing is,
said.
of course, he's on Timcast. He's talking about the Romanian trial, but he's not representing them in Romania. He can't represent them in Romania. I mean, that's Eugen Viciniak or whatever his name is, right?
Who's also got a similar vibe to McBride. I guess even smarmier and slimier though. With the Gucci glasses and the weird twisted smile. Their Romanian lawyer's hilarious. Just his physiognomy is so perfect for the Tates.
Right.
He's so good in the press conferences afterwards. He's like stood there. He looks like he's from Back to the Future, from like the future.
He's from like he's coming back from 2030. He's like a smarmy club promoter from
I love it.
2030.
Just that clip where it was about the videos, whether the videos are evidence or not, and he completely contradicts Andrew Tate. Says, "Yeah, they absolutely are," but he's also like, "Do you think my client would be dumb enough to confess to all these crimes?
Yes.
And do the crimes?"
Yes, we do.
That's in the interview. They're saying that was the best. I wish I had that clip pulled up right now. I don't want to go search for it, but yeah, in this interview, which interview is this? Like BBC or something? It seemed like it was a major
It's
one.
an American one. I can't remember. I don't know what.
Okay. So in the interview, the interviewer tells him, "Well, look, Tate has admitted to human trafficking, outlined his methods of human trafficking, sold courses showing people how to commit crimes of human trafficking. How is this not an open and closed case?" And the lawyer is kind of dumbfounded. He's like, "Well, come on, like, what kind of criminal
He's
would
like,
be
I
that
can't
stupid?"
comment on everything my clients ever said, but then the other reporter's like, "You'll be like a bank robber who robs banks, also teaching a course," and his lawyer's like, "Great example."
That's a great example. You'd have to be an idiot to do such a thing. And it's just, oh man, that was a great. And then another thing. So back to McBride. McBride's quote that I thought was so amazing and so fitting for the Tate fans and the people who are still defending him. I mean, Ryan Dawson's defending Tate still. Myron Gaines and the Fresh and Fit porn promotion channel where they tell whores that they're naughty. It's like a fetish show. Fresh and Fit. They love Tate, of course. I mean, and both of their incomes are completely wrapped up in promoting OnlyFans girls. How fitting, but the apologetics for them are crazy. And the McBride guy, the lawyer, says, "Well, look, even if everything in these cases is true, even if they are human traffickers, even if they have done all these crimes, which we'll talk about the new crimes that have been added to the list of crimes in the Romanian case files." Well, even if they've done all this stuff, haven't they done a lot of good for the world? They've also done a lot of good things, so maybe it's worth it.
Yeah, they said that the good they've done outweighs the bad.
Oh, there you go. We did moral calculus, and we kind of put it on the scales there, and the good is heavier than the bad. Nice. So we're good then.
As if that's a thing.
I think isn't that how it works in the Romanian justice system? They like tally up.
Last year, I didn't kill anybody for 364 days, and then on the last day I snapped. So I should just be cleared from that, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, think about Jeffrey Epstein. He was a champion of science, right? He invested in advancing scientific knowledge. Epstein was a philanthropist. If you looked at his Wikipedia page before 2016 or so, he was always listed as a philanthropist. So, I mean, the good outweighs the bad. Why would they ever convict him too?
Well, he never made it to conviction, did he? Never made it to trial.
Yeah. I only saw clips. Common sense. What was? I mean, did Tim Pool offer any pushback?
None. No, and it's amazing how many people do interviews based on Tate that don't actually have any framework or haven't done the boots on the ground stuff before getting either McBride or Tristan or anybody, in front of the camera. Like Tucker Carlson, same thing. He had no freaking clue what human trafficking involved, and he's talking to Andrew Tate about trafficking, right?
Yeah,
It's
even
like
Piers
you've got
Morgan.
no freaking idea what you're talking about, but you're asking the criminal why he didn't commit a crime or whether or not he committed a crime. It's
Yeah,
like,
even Piers Morgan, like Piers Morgan, that whole program is about him kind of, this conflict of like, going head to head, and everything's about this kind of promos about like Piers Morgan really kind of like takes, his guest to task. And yeah, even with I mean, even the last one, he didn't even ask Andrew Tate really about any of his, criminal cases. It was all just about, how do you feel about the British Prime Minister speaking about this, and Gaza, and but in the one before that, he was asking about his case, and no push. I mean, like the indictment's easily available. I think this was in like November or December last year.
yeah,
Even more recent, and he was still doing the thing where it's like Tate's like, oh, TikTok, it's about TikTok, and Piers was
he
like,
showed he helped some girl. He
webcamming,
showed girls
OnlyFans, and then
TikTok
Tate
in the
kept
App
saying,
Store. Yeah.
Yeah, he just kept saying TikTok, and you just see the people just back down. They're like, oh, okay, well, I mean, this guy who's charged, he must know what he's charged with better than me. And it's like, don't you have the indictment like right there? Why don't you just like, look here, right? You're lying, like here,
I don't understand. I mean, this is a big problem, especially with kind of the online right, which is, full of a lot of grifters. I mean, there's so much incentive to promote characters like Tate just for algorithmic juicing, right? I mean, you kind of, if you jump on certain bandwagons, you will get views, right? So I think they're in a roundabout way incentivized to kind of just, jump on this stuff. And when somebody becomes like a flash in the pan internet fame figure, there's really little pushback often from from kind of the online right. It's a sad phenomenon, but it's nothing new too. I mean, this is mass media, social media. Truth isn't really necessarily incentivized. What's incentivized is attention. So if somebody's getting a lot of attention, and especially if a guy like Tate, where, oh, he's persecuted, look at him, he was teaching young men, he told him to go to the gym and to have families. That's all he did. He just said, go be a good guy and go to the gym. And now the Matrix is trying to take him out. This was the narrative in the beginning when he first got arrested. He's speaking out against the Matrix. But at that time, I mean, he had made generally critical statements over the COOF response, right? Over the global response in 2020. He had been vaguely critical of that, but in the very beginning of that whole debacle, he was just talking about how, well, I'm rich, so this doesn't affect me. Ha ha. Like, look at all you brokies. I can do what I want. I can bribe officials in Romania. And there was no ideological critique that he had. There was no critique he actually had over what was happening beyond that. It inconvenienced most people, but it didn't inconvenience him. So it was just a big flex fest at that point with the Tates. Later on, he began to, say things that tons of other people were saying, right? Milk Bar, you were really critical of what was happening at the time, and you were making content and putting stuff out on Twitter at the time, right? But why didn't the Matrix come and accuse you of being a human trafficker, or
I loved when I did that first video I did, which went really viral, and I think just because of the nature of the circles that I'm in, I mean, if you're gonna pin me down, I think I'm more like center right, and I was against vaccine mandates in Australia. So it was quite interesting because that video went really viral with more of the people in the conservative movement. So you saw all these people after it went viral on Twitter. Then you had, like Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, a whole bunch of these people then did podcasts where they played the video and then pretty much, called out Andrew Tate. And it was really fascinating because he then did a reaction.
Can you describe that viral video real quick for the audience? What was it about?
That was me literally, because me trying to get my head around who Andrew Tate was.
Okay.
And it was after he did the Tucker Carlson interview, and I knew enough about him that I knew that he was bullshitting to Tucker Carlson. So then I just dived deeper, and so I just did like a 6-minute just kind of best of just how much of a complete deplorable scumbag Andrew Tate is. And this thing of like, why do none of these Piers Morgans and people who interview him ever bring up the fact that he was a literal pimp? who actually built an empire off sexual exploitation. They
Well,
only
Piers
ask
is
him
supposed
about,
to be
hey,
like a
you
left.
said this thing that's kind of misogynistic about men owning women. Why don't you actually talk about the fact that he literally was a pimp who, had Tate owned and Tate
Right,
property branded.
instead they'll talk. Oh, well, Tate, you said misogynistic things like women don't drive well. I mean, it's like Rodney Dangerfield jokes. There's nothing
these,
edgy about
hot
like, oh, hey,
takes.
women suck at driving.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's why the Matrix got him. He said women aren't good at driving. No, like this dude is literally owning women and tattooing them with Tate owned, pimping them on OnlyFans, stealing their money and defrauding them, telling them that he's paying 50% of their earnings to taxes while never paying any taxes, transporting them across international boundaries, transporting them internationally to work for him. And now we now know, the journo speak, we now know that Tate was actually trafficking an underage girl as well and having her produce content for him. And this is part of the allegations. Well, you have to say allegedly, right? And I know the Tater, you have to say allegedly, right? The whole scaffolding of the foundation of the West is built upon and will crumble if we don't say the word allegedly. But yeah, so allegedly, Tate actually did traffic a minor as well. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about.
At that point, it was just the left that had really gone for him, and he was still kind of embraced in conservative circles.
Yeah.
And then after that video, he got completely denounced by the majority of those bigger kind of conservative voices. And it was so funny in his reaction video to my video, because he did his whole thing where he's like, hey, look, in the past 24 hours, the Matrix has mobilized. And it really shows like the Matrix is not just unique to the left. It also owns the right as well.
Whoa,
so
mind blown. Mind is blown.
Oh my and I think over the past year with this new criminal case, more shit coming out, I think those circles that he's kind of allowed in have shrunk. And so he's become more and more fringe. And the people
he's had a court newer grifts. Yeah,
and I think that's the grifting thing, because people are like Candace Owens, like, how is she a grifter? She's blown up, her massive platform that she had on the Daily Wire. But I think that's the thing that Candace Owens made me realize, that idea of, you could be a kind of somewhat big fish in a big pond surrounded by other big fish, or you can do what Candace Owens has done, where she's gone to a much smaller pond and been a huge fish there. So now she's got this really hardcore loyal fan base because she's saying this crazy shit against the Jews and all this other kind of crap. So now they're like, yeah, Candace Owens is our fucking chick. And so because of that, now I think she's seen that it's much more profitable to be in this kind of like smaller, crazy fringe thing and have these people who are like hardcore fans, as opposed to being in a kind of larger landscape of voices.
Well, she's one of the few people. I mean, my problem with Candace Owens, with her defense of Tate, she has blatantly lied for him. I mean, Candace she's lied over and over again about the Tate case, and she slandered the victims of Tate, who was one of the victims who was underage and being abused by another guy, not Tate, before she had been, trafficked by Tate. Can we talk about that real quick? I think both of you guys have covered that on your channels. Yep. Common sense, if you want to jump in.
Candace Owens was a complete disappointment. Like she used to put out some pretty decent points, but now, I mean, she's completely off the rails. I can't even remember the points that she brought up that we used to agree with. But the fact is, her husband, George Farmer, is son of Lord Farmer, who is a British lord. And they've got a connection to Tate. I want to know how that happened. I think Nathan, the connection there, right? Isn't that through Robinson or something?
I think that's the safe bet, is that Andrew Tate's from Loudon. It's the same place as Tommy Robinson. So, and Tommy Robinson and him are good mates, even despite the idea that Tommy Robinson's whole thing is being anti-Islam, and now Andrew Tate's a Muslim.
Does Tommy still defend Andrew Tate? That's not a deal breaker. Does Tommy Robinson still defend Andrew Tate?
Yeah, he's still they're still mates. He still defends him every chance he gets. So I think it's safe to say that they're in the same circles. And, I mean, you're going back to like Andrew Tate was a drug dealer, those early kind of days. So I think they float in those same circles. And then Tommy Robinson got into politics in the far right in the kind of like late 2000s into the early 2010s. So that kind of matches up with then him somewhat bringing Andrew Tate into there. And then they float in the similar circles like Nigel Farage at that time. And then, so then we know that George Farmer was the head of Turning Point UK. And, the Turning Point that was Candace Owens was a part of with Charlie Kirk. So when she came to visit the launch of Turning Point UK, that's when she met George Farmer. And then they got engaged 17 days later on Skype. And in that time period, George Farmer introduced Candace Owens to Andrew Tate in London. And this is like in late 2019.
Now, remember when she interviewed him, she tried to act like she just heard about him a few months ago, and I just learned about you. And
well, no, she was, to be fair, she said that they met one time before, but she's never ever openly declared what the nature or how close her husband is to Andrew Tate. And they're really close. Like they go way back. And it was quite hilarious because even when Candace Owens was doing one of her crazy meltdown videos about how, the Jews rule the world, literally in the background, she's got all these photos and there's her husband in a photo with Andrew Tate behind her. So they're close mates. So I that speaks to Candace Owens how terrible she is ethically, in that after I did my video last year, the one we were talking about, and other people on Daily Wire were slamming Tate, she then flew directly to Romania to then interview him. She was there, and her husband, who's good mates with Andrew Tate, was there for that same interview. And she's never actually declared, okay, this is how long my husband's known him. Like, is there business interests? Common sense is right. There's still these questions of what purpose did Andrew Tate, this kind of like drug dealer pimp, serve in these like really kind of like almost like aristocratic circles in London. I mean, what was he? He must have been a fish out of water. What is that connection?
Yeah, because at the time when he lived in the UK, he wasn't rich. I mean, he had certain level of, he was like a D-list celebrity, right? Like a D-list celeb.
Farmer says like he knew him before he was famous. He's known him so long.
What does he mean before he was famous? Because he was on that Big Brother show in like 2016, right? I mean, was that famous? I guess that's not famous. 2019 must be the cutoff for. Is that when he became famous? Because I mean, he's been somewhat prominent. He had a decent Twitter following for a bit, even before he blew up, right? Like he would say ridiculous things on Twitter. I don't understand the timeline there, and it seems they've intentionally obscured it, and they're very vague about it.
There's a lot of questions that I'd like to know, and it's going to be genuinely interesting when I think he's found guilty to see how much of this is memory hold. Because I think it should be the same thing as Epstein, where everyone who's had any connection should be questioned about what they know.
And that's kind of where the money laundering charge is going to be very interesting. Anybody who's ever done a transaction with the Tate, taken money from them, given money to them, muled anything for them from Romania to Dubai, for example, because Tate told his girls, every once in a while we get the girls to move valuables, illegally from Romania to. It was actually a selling point when he was talking with his Moldovan rape victim, when he was trying to recruit her and transport her over to Romania. I'm this big shot and I have all these girls, meet all these girls, but they all do things for me, and some of them are on webcam and some of them are ferrying valuables from here to there and all the rest of it.
Right? Oh, that's right. He did brag about that. And didn't he also brag about actually physically pimping girls in some of these tweets as well? Like actually pimping them to high-end clients and stuff like that?
I don't know where those quotes are.
I thought I'd seen a tweet. I could be.
Well, there was a tweet that said, like power's where the pussy is, kind of stuff, right? Like,
right. And Epstein had pussy, and that's why Epstein was able to have power. And he actually venerated Epstein. It's funny because back then he's
Yeah.
talking about, well, Epstein. The reason he had power is because he was like me. Is what he was saying. He basically looked up
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah. He was trying to put himself on a parallel plane there, right?
Mm-hmm. And then
So-
once
I mean, it's
Epstein,
crazy,
and
like,
then he used
you
Epstein. Well,
even-
why are you persecuting me? Where's the Epstein client list? All of a sudden, it's like, well, you don't care about Jeffrey Epstein, but you care about me. This is whataboutisms that the Tates will get involved in. Like, well, what about the pedophile elite and all this stuff? It's like, dude, you've been openly bragging about the crimes that you're being prosecuted for. You're not being persecuted. You're being prosecuted because you're an idiot. You're a degenerate idiot who bragged about all the things he was doing that are illegal, right? But it's just always whataboutisms or
And
excuses
just
or new
the apples
persecutors.
comparison there. The people on Epstein's list aren't the direct comparison to Tate. Tate's comparison is Epstein. And why aren't they going after Epstein? He's dead. How are you going after a dead guy? They got the groomer. They got Maxwell. So, I mean, that's the one step down. That's the Georgiana. That's the Luana. That's the Vivian. That's the Abigail, right? That's who that person is. So she's in prison. She's going to be there for decades. So those are your apples to apples comparison. The people on Epstein's list, yeah, it'd be great to get that list out there to see, who was on the island. But that's not your ringleader.
Right. Well, I mean, another thing that you get to is anybody who criticizes Tate. Well, then if you criticize Tate, well, then you must be just like the enemies of Tate, whoever that current enemy is that he's blaming for his persecution, which has shifted
Right.
many times. It was the Matrix, the elite.
All three of us are big Jew now, I guess, are we?
Well,
we all
yeah.
work
First,
for-
it was
we
you're
all
a
work
feminist.
for, we all
You're
work for
the
Dicot.
Matrix, and then it was
we
you're a
all work for
feminist.
Dicot, where work for NGOs, Jewish,
Yeah.
It was that one week
funniest
where it
one
was
that the Tater
everything.
Trash come at us with is, you're just jealous because he's so successful. I'm like, I would not trade my life for his, because the rest of his life is going to be getting his ass explored by Romanian convicts until the day he dies. That is not fun for me.
Yeah, I'm
I don't
not
care how many Bugattis I got
jealous
to
of
drive
going to a Romanian prison.
beforehand, right? Like,
Great
he's
point.
going from top G to bottom bitch, and it's going to happen overnight the day he gets convicted.
Well, he said he had a lot of friends in prison, though. Remember, he said they all love him. They think he's great.
Yeah, he was walking kind of funny when he got out. I don't know if you remember that.
He had to walk in. He was pacing in a small
my favorite
area.
is my favorite is the Tristan just looking absolutely shell shocked.
Yeah.
After that first raid and then being held in jail. That's the key. Always look at Tristan Tate after these new raids and arrests.
After the second one,
his face always tells the truth about how bad it is.
Well, that's what I wanted to bring up next: the second arrest and the second case, because both you guys have done a really good job, and also he's not here right now, but Murdered by Crayons has done a great job at documenting what's going on with this new case. So the second case, last time we talked, I think we spoke about the imminent new charges that we all knew were coming in the second case that Dicot had been building. That second case just dropped, was like a month ago or 2 months ago that they were arrested for the new slew of charges. Do either one of you have the list of new charges on hand?
Yeah, I've got them here. All right, criminal case 2.
You've done this from memory. You can tell me which one I'm missing, Nathan?
What's that?
Can I try doing this from memory? You can tell me if I'm
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so 35 new charges of trafficking, including a minor, 17 years old. Repeated intercourse with a minor, 15 years old, starting in 2020. Money laundering, favoring the perpetrator, trying to bribe officials, and influencing statements. What did I miss?
No, you got it. That's it.
So there's one in there that's maybe surprising to some of the Tate fans and some of the guys in the right wing griftosphere. I mean, that's the charge involving a minor seems like it should be a big red flag. Now, is this the Matrix trying to make something up? Is it because
two charges with two different minors?
And when you look at the case file, these are not charges that. When did these events occur in the case file?
So you've got the one with Vivian. And Vivian's a really interesting one
Kissed
'Cause
by
Vivian's,
Cobra. What's her name again? Her handle was like
yeah,
Kissed by
Cobra Baby.
Cobra Baby. Okay.
And
Also, Kiss of the Cobra.
yeah, she's a fascinating one because Andrew always talks about that idea of how the webcamming, how it started, so the origin story. You know, he always talks about how he's in debt to, it changes every time who he's in debt to, and how he came up with the idea that he would start webcamming because the only assets that he realized he had was these different girlfriends. So already he saw these women as assets. And so he pulled all his girlfriends from around the world to London where he was living. And then he pretty much sat them down and said, this is what we're going to do. And all of them left except for a couple. And then there was only one that stayed. And the one that stayed was Vivian. So it all starts with Vivian. That's where it all begins back in, the early like 2010s. And it's always been this question mark of how old was Vivian when this started. Because there's always been this kind of idea that she was quite possibly a minor, and so now with this new case, it's actually been confirmed without a doubt that she was 17 in 2014 when he started pimping her out into pornography. So that's where this charge for trafficking a minor is for Vivian in 2014 when she was 2017. We can go into it later. It's interesting with them how long they've actually been together, because he's admitted on camera as people who kind of know that he was with her since she was 14 or 15, maybe. So that's the one, the trafficking.
That's not something to just gloss over. That I think we're so accustomed. You're so accustomed to the case that you're used to this detail.
He's not being charged with that at this time. So he's being charged with the trafficking her into pornography when she's 17, and that's in 2014. That's the criminal charge.
And so in the past, this video
that indictment comes down, how far back they go on Vivian. Obviously, they looked into her and they know that she was 17 when she started doing webcam. But I mean, there's actual porn where both Vivian and Andrew are visible. And Andrew's wearing the butterfly tattoo, and he only had that tattoo for 2 years. This is part of the episode that we're putting together. We're basically carbon dating him by his tattoo, because it went from the cobra that he seemed to have for forever, like since he got involved with the Eska kickboxing, and then for one reason or another he added a butterfly to it, and then 2 years later what we just call the blotch, right? It's a basically undefined tattoo of some sort of devil face with a bigger, badder snake, whatever. But
it's the tackiest, most weird, gross tattoos you could ever imagine. It's like
exactly.
Cartoonishly
so in
tacky.
Actual porn video, he's got the butterfly tattoo, so that narrows it down to a 2-year window.
And there's also what's really interesting and completely crazy is that he made these sex act videos, as he calls them. And there's one with him whipping her with a belt. And he made that in 2012.
He said that, right? That's his own words?
He said that. He said that he's posted it on Twitter. He said it multiple times. It was even verified by the UK tabloids and media when it came out in 2016. And it came out in 2016 when he was on Big Brother, as you said. Now, what's crazy about this is he's on Big Brother, and then he, at this time, is being investigated for rape and sexual assault. Now, it seems like it's quite likely, right, that he knew he was being investigated for rape and sexual assault. So what he did in his like classic form, and this is where you got to give them props because they still do it to this day. They're really, really good at PR spin.
They get ahead of it, right? They get ahead of the PR.
Yeah, get ahead of it to then be able to push a narrative that then everyone else runs with, and the truth gets completely lost in the shuffle. So he's being investigated for rape and sexual assault. So what he does, it seems quite likely, is he himself leaks this video that he made with Vivian years before. He leaks that out. That gets out. That causes a lot of controversy. And then he says, this was a consensual video that I did with my girlfriend. He's still got Vivian on hand. So he's able to roll her out, and she's able to make these videos saying, yes, I did it with Andrew Tate. He was my boyfriend. It was purely fun. It's just this like kinky, games that we played. There's nothing about it that's wrong. And then the story kind of evaporates because that's what it comes about. Now, the crazy thing about this is that when he rolled her out in 2016 and these videos, no one in the UK in the media bothered to actually ask, hold on, how old is this girl in these videos?
Yeah.
These were made in 2012. It came out like 4 years before. No one bothered to do that. Now, when we look back, now that we know her age for sure, we can actually date her to being around 15, maybe even 14 when he made these videos, which is crazy enough as it is that he's doing that. Like, that's fucked up and horrible. But what's even crazy is for Tate to have just the brazen, I call it stupid, but it paid off, that he, put out this girl knowing that she was underage to claim that it was truly, it was purely consensual. And he pulled it off. Somehow he pulled it off and got away with it until now.
That's
Well,
so weird. I mean, is there they have to
central.
be the stupidest criminals in the world? I mean, this is so stupid. Is there any way that she was not underage at the time? Is there any timeline? Like, do we have proof of her date of birth? Birth
Yeah, the
certificate?
Slovakian authorities have provided it with a letter. I forget what the letter's called, it's probate or something like that, something similar.
Rogatory, is that right? A rogatory? I think that's the term. Yeah.
So the request went out, and it's been confirmed that she's a 1997 baby. So take
September 25th, 1997, I think.
So then when the video, when did the video first surface? 2014?
I think it was 2016 that the video came out, and it was confirmed to be made in 2012.
By Tate's words.
Well, some of his interviews, like we covered this in Matrix of Lies when we covered Vivian. We've got probably a 10-minute segment on her. And, we were reverse engineering the math to see how far back it goes. And he's talking about how he's had this girl with him for 7 years, and she's, 22 now. So that would make her 15 then. I forget what the exact numbers were, but it comes back to that, he's talking about having her groom the other cam girls since the age of 15. And we basically
legally it's called breaking them out of the matrix, I think.
Yeah, right. But at the time, we figured that either she was going to get charged, same way Ghislaine Maxwell was, or she was going to come forward as a victim. And I don't think she's come forward as a victim. I think that the Romanian authorities have actually just said, you are a victim because you were this age at that time and you can't consent to any of the things that were happening to you. I don't know if she's done a sworn statement because I haven't seen that yet. But if she's a minor, that's statutory. She doesn't get a choice in this. But now that she is being dragged in as a victim, she might as well come forward and come clean on all the shit that she was involved with, because Tate talks about her in the PhD course as the girl that he would hook people up with to break them down, to get them drunk, to sexually assault them, and make them comfortable on camera to the point where they would do what was at that time Chatterbait. And of course, he was using Chatterbait because that paid out in Bitcoin. And if he thought that if he got paid in Bitcoin, they didn't have to pay taxes, which is a whole other ball of wax. But if she was complicit in liquoring the girl up and sexually assaulting her in front of the camera for Tate's benefit, then she could very easily have been charged in all of this for every girl that came forward that said that they knew who Vivian was. But even in the first indictment, her name is mentioned by the British lady that came forward as the seventh victim of Andrew Tate. And Vivian's name is mentioned in the context of this girl named Vivian, who was being exploited by Tate, asked me by social media, by text or whatever, for help to get her out of there because she needed help, and this woman just couldn't provide it to her. So she's mentioned in the first indictment as a victim who wanted out and couldn't get out, and now look at how deep in it she is.
So Vivian has been with him since perhaps 2012. We know at least 2014. she was a minor when she met him. Do we know anything about her past before Tate? Like what what kind of 15-year-old girl ends up in the hands of a, you know, a chinless pornographer like Andrew Tate?
I've heard orphan, but I don't know if that's true.
Orphan. Okay.
I know she came from a religious background. Yeah, there's actually photos I've seen of her before she met Andrew Tate, and it's crazy how different she looks before the breast implants and the surgery and everything.
Have you seen
You
transformation
almost don't even
of Abigail
recognize it.
on a parallel?
Of who?
What's that?
Have you seen the transformation on Abigail?
Yeah.
Within, yeah. So that's going to be coming up in a segment for us as well. Is Abigail Tyson, who's Tristan Tate's baby mama, one of the ones. She was like this skinny little bee sting bathing suit model in her teens, and within a year, she turned into Donald Duck Barbie.
Mm-hmm. But we know that he says that she was a waitress, and I think that's how they met. And
so
then
that's Tristan's baby's mama. Is this the one that in the indictment documents there are WhatsApp conversations where he is trying to force her to do OnlyFans and produce pornography? I think it was lesbian pornography. And this was just a couple years ago, I think, that the chats were from. And he was going to withhold funds for their house cleaner and withhold money from her if she didn't continue to produce OnlyFans content.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that kind of came from that. One of them was the cleaning lady who was also the child rearer, like the child care provider for Abigail when she is in front of the camera doing whatever. But she's also the woman that Tristan kicked out of a house and into an apartment because she put up some resistance to what Tristan was telling her at that time. So he's like, this house that I'm renting for you, yeah, get out of there. You've got 30 days to clear out, and we're going to head over. You're going to go and live in an apartment with the kid, and that's not on me. That's on you because you're being a bitch. So total dad material.
Well, and I like how their new narrative lately is, we're fathers, right? We have kids. I've never seen proof that Andrew has any kids, but apparently Tristan has at least one child. And this part of their new PR thing is to put out videos of them doing vaguely fatherly activities with their children when their actual lifestyle is kind of identical to like homosexual club hoppers, right? I mean, they live with a bunch of dudes who are hypersexual, Andrew hangs out all day naked with a bunch of men. They live in a home with a bunch of men and are constantly producing content of men hanging out, scantily clad. But
yeah, like most of the videos now are sausage parties.
Yeah,
it's like the scene in Top Gun, the volleyball scene. It just seems to be like that, just on rerun.
Yeah, I mean, if I had never known, if I didn't have any idea who Tate was, and I just saw a screenshot from one of his, over the last year, one of the videos that they've produced, I would just think, this is some gay porno star or something. This is a gay porn star.
I see someone mentioning age of consent, so it'd be good.
Thank you. I wanted to address this too. Yeah, I can go back and read this comment.
I think that's the thing with Vivian. So he moved Vivian from Slovakia to the UK, and the UK age of consent is 16. So he was with her when she was under that. But I think the important thing to come back to with Vivian is that he's looking at a charge for trafficking her when she was a minor. And all across Europe, the law is that you cannot produce porn under the age of 18. So I think that's with her and with that potential charge, that's the important thing to look at. It doesn't matter, even if she's 17, that's illegal to then force her to do pornography, because she's considered a minor. The age of consent is completely irrelevant when it comes to producing pornography if you're under 18.
Yeah, and I'm seeing this in the chat from a few different people saying, well, the age of consent. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Common Sense.
I said even if they're over 18, they can't consent to being exploited. right? So
Well, yeah, I mean that's a whole other thing with the trafficking.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's the thing. It's like if she's 17 and producing pornography for Andrew Tate, then that's illegal all across Europe.
not just with.
Yeah, well, yeah, also with I don't know if that's, but I'm not sure. I don't know if that with the new one, if the pornography they produced, do you know if that's included, or do you know if it's just the
I
webcam
don't,
stuff?
and again, there's going to be a difference between the arrest document and the original charges and what they actually include into the indictment. Because, like, originally, Andrew Tate was charged with 2 counts of rape against the same victim, the Moldovan girl. But when the indictment came down, it came down as a more serious charge as rape in a continuous form. And I expect to see those types of upgrades between what is listed on the mirror or whatever as the list of charges that they're facing and what the indictment eventually comes down to be. And I think there's going to be expansions, right? Like I fully expect to dig deeper into Vivian the way that we've done.
Yeah, and also I wouldn't be surprised if the UK then, now that they've verified her age, if they then look at potential criminal charges with him while he was there. The other thing, the crazy thing with the Vivian, I mean, the hilarious thing is that, like I said, I did a video based off credit to Thoughts and Players because she was the one who alerted the information to me. But Vivian pops up on social media from time to time, and she's still got a YouTube channel that you can find where she even says that she was doing pornography back in 2014. She says in the video that was done in 2018 that she's been doing pornography for 4 years since 2014. Anyway, well, this is the interesting thing, right? So she popped back up on Instagram, and someone actually caught a screenshot where on Instagram someone asked her age, and in June this year she said her age is 26, which puts that exactly where Andrew Tate says in that PhD video, saying that he's been with her for 15 years. So she actually told the truth in this Instagram thing, saying that she was 26. Now that's when I did a video that went really viral, and it was shared by one guy, Drew Pavlou, and him off that one post from my video got 30 million views on it, where it showed her saying that she was 26. And so it dated back that video with Andrew Tate whipping her in the belt where she's in lingerie to her being 14, 15. And that video went so crazy that Andrew Tate then responded saying he's going to sue anyone that's making these claims that he was with her when she was 14.
Oh, so have you received your notification of the lawsuit yet?
Well, he said in that post that he had the passport to be able to prove it, so he'll take it to court. We're still waiting for this passport, and since then we've now verified her age and verified that he was completely bluffing and bullshitting. But that next week, my account was referenced in the Florida court documents. It was my name and crayons, and then one other. So he definitely wasn't a fan.
He's upset. He's quite upset.
He definitely was upset. But yeah, so since then we now have confirmed that that's her age and that he was with her since she was about 14, 15. But I mean, like, we can move on to the 15-year-old and that potential criminal charge, because
that's what I wanted to hit next. Is
this is the most brutal by far of anything that Andrew Tate's been accused of.
Right. If you guys were disgusted before, hold on to your butts, because this is gonna gets even crazier. And we should be kind of careful with how we word things. I don't know what YouTube is so arbitrary these days. Be nice to us, YouTube. Be nice to us. Don't remove
the disclaimer that use allegedly whenever appropriate at this point. Just in case we accidentally miss one, because they're all allegations. They're not convictions, but
the allegations are getting crazier and crazier.
I mean, but even Tate News, who was a pro Tate account, but he's been recently reporting actual facts on this second case. Him and Crayons both have seen the new documents to the criminal case, and both of them said that they're not going to post the excerpts of the chats because potentially just from posting those excerpts, it could get their accounts nuked because it's so fucked up. Well, he hasn't been indicted yet, so these are the new accusations that could then lead to indictment.
Sorry, I had a mic issue there. I muted my mic. If you guys hear background noise, I apologize. I have a whelping box behind me and a dog that's being nursed on by 8 little monster puppies. So you're going to hear a little and a dog going snoring a little bit in the background. Apologies for that. And while we hit this transition point, let me give a shout out to our sponsor here. If you guys are watching this, if you're enjoying this, make sure to hit the like video, share the video, and also if you have any questions or comments, you make sure to support us via Super Chats, either on YouTube or through Streamlabs. There's a Streamlabs link in the description. Streamlabs gives actually 100% of the Super Chats to the content creators, whereas YouTube takes a hefty cut, but either one we appreciate. Slowboy Whiteboard donated $10 through Super Chat and says, as of August 2024, Tate has 9.9 million followers on X. He was the third most Googled person in 2023, and his Wikipedia article was ranked among the 25 top English Wikipedia articles in 2023. Yeah, that's crazy. It's so sad, the state of our culture where this guy is this popular. Right. I mean,
that's something we've kind of started to lighten into people on Twitter with. It's like, we'll go back and forth with them for like 5 minutes, and if there's a chance that we can provide some information to them that's useful. And after that, I mean, if they're still defending Tate and all the new charges and the 61 victims and all the rest of it, we'll just say, like, how much does your life suck? What level of low life are you that you have to look up to shit stains like Andrew and Tristan Tate? Like, where do you fall on the ladder that's a step up for you? That's somewhere for you to aspire to be. Because these guys are self-confessed, international human trafficking, child raping, internet pimp pornographers.
And con men as well.
Right? They don't have a dime in their pocket that they didn't wring out of a young girl or a young boy. That's all there is to it. Even whatever they invested into crypto, they had to get that from somebody because they've never made anything. They've never contributed anything. They hold up their kickboxing careers like they made themselves millionaires through that, but they didn't. I mean, the average fight ticket, I think, was $8,000. And even those were teed up for Andrew to win so he could win padded fights. So he was fighting rookies and people making their debuts. I mean, he's not even an exceptional kickboxer. There's nothing exceptional about these men. But they've got these 9.9 million people looking up to them like they're something special.
Yeah,
I always find
the culture
it hilarious that this idea that somehow they're the peak of like alpha male masculinity, and they literally built their empire off making other men come and talking dirty to them.
Right, and pretending to be hot chicks.
How they're denying that?
Yeah, scamming other dudes into cooming into their hands. I mean, what pathetic excuses for human beings. What absolute slime. But yeah, one more shout out to our sponsors over at chalk.com, CHOQ.com. You guys make sure to hit up chalk.com, get 53% off any subscriptions for life. I'm a huge fan of the Chalk Daily, the Shilajit, the Tomcat 100 extract, as well as the clean pre-workout. The clean pre-workout, the Chad mode pre-workout is so good. Like I've never been into pre-workouts at all. For me, it was always just like a cup of coffee or nothing, right? Or some carbs. But the Chalk clean pre-workout, there's zero fillers, zero additives, none of that like blue number 49 or red 50. And the caffeine isn't like lab-made Chinese BS nonsense. It's actually organic green coffee bean extract. And the caffeine dose isn't too high. Like for me, I don't get jittery from it. It just gives you a nice pump, gives you some nice energy. If you don't have time to make a cup of coffee, I love it. So hit up chalk.com, CHOQ.com, and get yourself some of that chalk. You can use that coupon code BIG53LIFE to get 53% off all subscriptions for life over there. And you do that today, you will be supporting the stream you're watching here and supporting the work we do here. And then also, of course, like it, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. If you got any questions or comments, you can drop it in the super chats and we'll respond to those. Let's move on to the next victim. The one of the, well, there are 39 victims named so far in the Romanian cases. Am I right on that one, or is it more now?
I don't know how many of the girls in the second case are Romanian. Like there's 35 new ones, but Tate said that 2 of them never even set foot in Romania. So I don't know how that works for breakdown. But there's 35 of them named in the case, and then in the original there's 7. 2 of which, of course, claiming that they're not victims because they're so freaking brainwashed they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. And so that would take you up to 42.
Yeah, and what's crazy in the case files for the second one is there's an additional 12 alleged victims mentioned that could also be added to the charges.
Wow, that's quite a bit of victims.
So all up with the Romanian criminal cases, and then the UK civil case, and then the additional UK criminal case, there's 61 victims all up.
So that's another thing that we went through in Matrix of Lies, is that all these girls that Tate admitted he ripped off, like he told them that he was filing taxes for them, paying taxes for them. He'd get them to sign fake tax documents and then just throw them in the garbage, just to shut them up when they were bitching that they weren't getting the full cut or whatever. But all the authorities had to do with these girls is track them down by the payments and tell them, hey, do you realize how badly Andrew Tate was ripping you off, and that you haven't actually paid taxes on any of this stuff? And it would be as easy as that to get that number to where it is. I mean, we're very quickly approaching the 75 women that he said worked for him.
And that's a good point. I think that's it's good to highlight that idea that people look at Andrew Tate and they think, oh, this is like a Me Too case where this guy is successful. So now there's a bunch of women that are coming out of the woodwork to try and get their payday, and they're making up these false allegations against him. But that's not the truth. The truth is that DICOT have investigated this for years and years, and they're the ones who've actually identified victims and gone out to actually track them down to then get statements. It's not like these victims have come to DICOT and then making these allegations.
And much of the evidence is actually coming from the Tate's own admissions and bragging about this. I mean, in his courses, he would brag about how he would lie and defraud his employees out of money by telling them he's paying taxes for them. He would give them pennies for what he was making, right? Like he would be keeping 90+% of the money. Some of the girls, he would take 100% of the money. He would fine them for if they cried on cam, he would fine them for that, right? I mean, he had this whole system of manipulation and blackmail techniques as well. Like there are chats, there are screenshots of chats of him speaking to these girls and telling them, if you don't behave, I will tell your parents. Right, so this is he's using these techniques to control these girls, and some of the allegations are even worse than just, oh, he manipulated me into doing cam stuff and took my money. In the Romanian case, we have a quote here from what a girl told the prosecutors. So we have a minor, 15 years old, and Tate is being accused of allegedly having sexual acts, performing sexual acts with this minor who's 15 years old. And she told prosecutors, this is a quote from her, "During our sexual encounters, Andrew was often aggressive. He would hit me with a belt, choke me, and on one occasion he strangled me until I lost consciousness, then revived me by slapping my face." So this is, again, a 15-year-old girl, and the age of consent in this country is, what is it, 16? Or what is the age of consent in Romania? 16, 17?
16, yeah. It would,
But
and that's
does that count? So now in many countries where the age of consent might be 16, if it's a man sleeping with, doing sexual acts with a young girl, isn't there like what would you call this? If the guy is 18, it's different than if the guy is 30 years old, right? Legally in a lot of these places.
The fact is, she's a minor even by Romanian standards, but
Yeah.
because the Tates are American citizens, they're subject to American laws. And the extraterritorial sexual exploitation of children protocols say that anybody under the age of 18 is a child, and any American that has sex with a child is looking at 30 years in prison.
So by federal law in the United States, Andrew and Tristan Tate being U.S. citizens, them going and doing sex tourism in Eastern Europe, they're actually breaking federal laws in the U.S.
Federal and international law, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, in Romania,
protocols alone have the age of consent at 18, right? For like the human trafficking, that graphic that I told you about, if they're under 18, then they're considered a child by United Nations standards.
in Romania, they lifted the age of consent from 15 to 16 recently. And there was even a potential additional charge or allegation for Tristan Tate having sex with a minor. And he, during that time, the age of consent changed. So it appears that he got away with it. But Tate
if that's the case, that's a 2023 offense, because that's when that law was changed. It was 2023.
So the Matrix literally changed the laws just to try to hurt poor Andrew Tate.
Right.
They went back in time, and the Matrix went back in time. They used their Zionist time machines to go back and make Tate sexually assault a 15-year-old, and then the Matrix changed the law to persecute him.
Yeah, I mean, I can read out I've got the excerpt from one of the criminal documents on the second case, where it says Andrew Tate, starting from redacted, it says 2020, so that's the date. So the month is redacted, but starting from 2020, being at the home address in redacted, where he had rented an apartment for the victim, repeatedly engaged in sexual intercourse and anal and oral sex acts with the named redacted, knowing that she was 15 years old. So he knew that she was 15 years old.
Peak masculinity here, manosphere hero, Andrew Tate sodomizing a 15-year-old child.
Yeah. And he also had an apartment that he rented to do this, to have this 15-year-old that he apparently knew was 15 and would have sex, including anally and orally. And she's put out a statement saying that he would beat her with a belt and even choke her unconscious, and then to bring her back would hit her in the face.
These are pretty shocking allegations here, right? Like, this is pretty crazy, but this does line up with, I've got a tweet here from Tate pulled up.
Hold on a sec. While you're looking up that tweet, I got to get this one in here. That this minor is also on file now as saying that Tate tried to bribe her with 5,000 euros to when she went into the interview with Haggard to not only bring in another phone that wasn't hers, but to also say nothing but glowing things about Andrew Tate. And he offered her 5,000 euro to do this, and then he ripped her off. He only paid her half. And, so she's like, well, he fucked me, I'm going to fuck him. Wow. So she handed over her phone and, over $2,500. The guy who's called himself a freaking billionaire, right, to the tater trash that actually listen to that crap. Over $2,500, this 15-year-old spilled her guts.
That's horrible.
And there's apparently there's a wiretap of calls. They've got the chats, WhatsApp messages. From what I'm hearing, they've got him pretty dead to rights on this one.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is not a new thing, the violence and the abuse during these sexual acts. It seems like he kind of obsessively tweets about it. Here's a tweet from him from 2020. Andrew Tate's old account that I think was banned says, "Only time you can beat her up without going to jail is during sex. You think I'm passionate, but really I just don't like you." So I mean, there are a lot of other tweets that are similar to this. I'm thinking of another tweet from Tristan Tate where he says something about being 30 years old, and when you're 30, it's the first year you can legally F
Yeah, that's
a
Tristan.
woman that's half your age, and that's Tristan Tate
that's
saying,
different.
because of course he's talking about countries where the age of consent is 15, but I think that somebody in the chat mentioned they're called Romeo and Juliet laws. It doesn't work like that. You can't be a 40-year-old, and go to some place where there's a 15-year-old age of consent place and have sex with a 15-year-old. There are legal there are legal ramifications to all of this, including what we mentioned earlier about the international laws about sex tourism, which the Tates seemed to promote quite a bit before they became these based right-wing fight the matrix guys all of a sudden when they rebranded in 2021, 2022. But they often talk about traveling in order to have relations with minors on their old tweets.
Yeah, I'd like to point out as well that
go ahead.
I'd like to point out that so you've got this 15-year-old who's alleging that he choked her unconscious while having sex. This is repeated. It's also in the indictment as well for the rape charge, where the alleged victim says that Tate choked her with one hand while punching her on the temple with another, and that she thought she was going to die. And this is also the UK victims have also made same kind of allegations, with one saying that he choked her unconscious without consent. It's crazy that you have to say that, but yeah, that wasn't with consent that she was choked unconscious. And then when she came to, he was still having sex with her. So he was having sex with her while she was unconscious. And now all these women from these different countries and different areas, all saying these similar things, don't know each other. And this is from a time span you're spanning over the course of a decade, even. So over and over again, this comes up. These allegations of him choking these women unconscious and being.
What are the Tate fans? How are they going to do apologetics for this? How are they going to defend this? It's like, do you think the Matrix sent an Andrew Tate decoy back in time to sexually assault all these women in the same way?
No, I mean, I can tell you it's horrible. They say that the women liked it and they wanted it when it happened, and then later they've changed their mind and they come out now. I mean, that's the way they rationalize it.
Great offense, right? It's like, once that movie came out, everybody realized how much women like to be whipped and punched and choked out and strapped up and strapped down. And no, that's not what's happening here. And even when that does happen, I mean, it's it shouldn't be across 60 people. Like, if you got kinks, keep them in your own personal bedroom, but you're not having dozens of people through that revolving door, I doubt.
This is very straight. Here's another tweet from him, 2021 tweet from Andrew. The 20 unspoken rules of relationships. Number 1, females need to respect you to love you. To respect you, they must have a healthy fear of you. They need you to show them power, to feel hurt and scared. For this reason, females need physical discipline administered during sex. So, I mean, he's always doing these weird pornographic style tweets. But of course, when he all of a sudden becomes a reformed guy and he finds God and he supposedly becomes a Muslim, then he tones it down a little bit. But he still often will, he'll make some pretty vile tweets still. But yeah, the stuff that you find from him 3-4 years ago is just insane. I mean, the allegations all line up with exactly what he's tweeting, I think, is the main point I'm trying to make there. But what a degenerate.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a crime that he's been charged with that he isn't on camera bragging about at some point. Like, not even the money laundering through the casinos, right? Like,
True.
For everything that they're charged with, we can find you a video clip of him telling his audience exactly what that how he did that and who was involved with that, right? And how he used his bottom bitches to break the women down, right? Use violence to break the women down.
So yeah, the casino thing, I mean, he bragged about that and then tried to get his fans to buy into it. He promised them he would, if you spend this amount of money in this investment, this is a business opportunity. And seemed like a big kind of a Ponzi scheme. But yeah, you invest this much money, you're going to own part of this casino in Romania and we'll send you money. We'll send you back money.
Yeah, those casinos where they had to follow the winners and beat the winnings out of them and take the money back to the casino in order to stay afloat.
Well, he of course bragged about his mob connections. He used to, these are such stupid criminals. What type of criminal? If you're actually some sort of a powerful mob boss, why would you want people to perceive you as this? Right? No, he had this obsession with being perceived. He wanted people to perceive him as some sort of a top G mobster. And he did have connections with mobsters, including one who was arrested and imprisoned for child trafficking and production of child exploitation material videos and photos, right? Eddie Power was his name. And there's several photos of Tate with Power. I think there might have been some other dubious connections as well that people have documented with his mob connections. And the money laundering, the casino business, the trafficking in women, the exploitation of even children for the production of the materials that he was selling. All of these are connected, and there are definitely other players involved with this stuff that I'm sure are being investigated and will go down as well.
Well, one of the guys that's on the witness list for the first indictment is Vlad Obu, right? Obuchik or Joe Lampton, however they want to call him now. But he's been arrested on very similar charges, even more extreme charges, where he's on tape bruising and showing off the bruises of that he caused his bitches, right? I mean, they're all bitches. They're not women. They're not girls. They're not lovers. They're not females. They're just bitches.
Well, Tristan used to call them his whores and stuff too.
Degenerates, right? Misogynist degenerates. Who goes around calling these young women bitches and whores? That just right off the bat should send chills up your spine. You should want nothing to do with these guys. But
I'll send you this video of Vlad Obu, and it gives you a sense of who this is. Where this guy's one of their students. If you want to play it, Tristan.
Sure. Yeah. X. Is that in look in the Twitter DMs?
Yeah, I just DM'd you. Cool. Watch this. This is absolutely fucked up.
All right. Let's hope.
But like I said, he's on the witness list against the Tates. He's a prosecution witness. And he's somebody who's done, he was a professor with their Hustlers University. He's done videos with them from their smoking room. Like he's an insider. And he got charged with all the same shit, and he's a prosecution witness.
24-second video. I'm going to play this now to you guys, to Nathan and Common Sense. It might sound a little bit quiet, but I'll just put my mic next to the speaker for you because I don't have the audio routed through. The audience will be able to hear it great, but it might sound quiet to you guys. But the audience will get it. So all right, for those of you who can't see, because it might be small on the screen, he says, I'll give you 2,000 RON if you kill your baby now, to his woman. So he tells him, drop your baby on the ground. She says, no. He says, F him. I'll make you another one. He's too small to realize anyways. Wow. Crush the baby on the ground and I will give you 2,000 RON. No, she says. F your baby, he says. Just good old-fashioned street theater, he's having a little fun, having a little laugh, being it's just a standard. That's crazy. Who's he making that for? Who's he making this video for?
Well, they used to bring videos like this into the war room and brag about it, right? The girls the bruises, the tattoos, the naked, pictures. It was all flex for the for the scum that were part of the war room program. Paying $8,000 a year to get into a chat room with other pimps and traffickers. I mean, you should just, you're talking about an Epstein list, you should have that list out there, because those fuckers are still out there, right? And they're doing this. They paid for these courses. They paid for the PhD course. They paid for the war room. They paid for, these weekend retreats where they teach each other how to do all these different things. Those guys are still active, and they need to be tracked down one by one. So like Iggy and Sartorial and Alpha Wolf and Money Pilot, all these guys need to burn at the stake for what they've been doing, because they are still doing it.
So I've got
I
another.
think that's the thing you need to highlight. That's important to highlight about Andrew Tate. Like, not only is he doing these horrific things to other human beings, but he's teaching other people how to emulate his exact same techniques, and effectively setting up this support network for people to be able to trade tips, and to be able to pretty much create this whole hub where they do these horrific things. So you don't only have these victims of the Tate brothers, you also have the victims of their students and the other people that are in these networks. So that's the horrible thing. It's like, yeah, you got the evidence of him teaching the pimping hose degree, and there's people who are actually buying that and then copying these techniques and then doing it to other women. That's horrible.
Now you've got the teenage boys in the UK school system, where the UK government has had to provide $2 billion with a B in funding to set up programs to combat the misogyny present in the 14 and 15-year-old boys, because they're going around beating on girls and choking girls and calling them bitches and whores. So like the UK government had to blow $2 billion to counteract the direct effects of Andrew Tate on their school system.
That sounds like a money laundering thing. Just giving some sweetheart contract, $2 billion. Like, what? $2 billion in that. The UK is a small country too. That's crazy. What? That's so ridiculous.
Right.
What are they gonna do? They're gonna give them some pamphlets. Hey guys, don't call girls bitches and turn them into cam whores, please. Like, what do you?
I know. I to be honest, I can't say. Even in Australia, there's a new minister, and it's the Minister of Men's Behavioural Change. It's just like, yeah. I mean, I can't stand Andrew Tate, but also it's just like the government have no clue about how to combat this shit.
Yeah. No,
It's
they
not
just
how
they
you-
just
like
push.
all they're doing is kind of just really, I think, driving a lot of more guys towards Andrew Tate. To be honest.
They make
Things
it,
need to
yeah,
be done, but
exactly.
I don't think
It's
the
like a
government
feedback
has a
loop.
clue.
It's a feedback loop that they've created, where they can create the problem that they were saying was so big and so bad. I mean, the whole thing about they pathologize normal human behavior all the time now, especially at a mass scale, and the Tates are either unwitting or witting useful idiots in all of this, because it just creates terrible cultural feedback loops that end up turning the world into more of a retarded nanny state. But look, here's a great video. This ties in with Vivian, who we talked about the timeline earlier. This is Vivian, who we were speaking of, who was probably 14 or 15 when Tate first got his hands on her and began to defile her. She was a young Slovakian girl, and as we saw earlier, Tate has been accused many times of strangling women, and this girl has been with Tate since she was like 15. Tate has bragged about how she will never leave him. She'll never want to be with another man, that he basically owns her. She has Tate owned tattooed on her. And let's listen to this clip, because this kind of corroborates a bit of what we're seeing from the other 15-year-old girl who says he strangled her unconscious during the illegal sex act where he was, defiling a 15-year-old. So here's Vivian talking about some things that she has seen in her life. And remember, Tate says she only wants to be with him. She's been with him. He's been with her for years, and the timeline seems to show that she was allegedly around 15 when he got together with her.
And she would never, ever cheat on him.
Never would cheat on him. And it's been with only him for how many years? 10 years? 11? A long time. Let's play this. come down here so we can see her whole face. And she's got the characteristic Tate plastic face, sadly defiled her probably once pretty face with them plastic duck lips like all the Tate's women.
That's the reasoning behind like why some girls don't like it, because they're scared they're gonna die. I've actually seen some guys actually accidentally, how funny is that? Actually accidentally kill their girlfriends during a sex because they were choking them that hard. That's the reasoning behind like why some girls don't like it, because they're scared they're gonna die. I've actually seen some guys actually accidentally, how funny is that? Actually accidentally kill their girlfriends during a sex because they were choking them that hard.
What guys? And where's that body? That's what I want to know.
The dead-eyed stare after that, like bobbing along with the music. What is going on with this?
Totally disconnected from reality.
Yeah, she's a dissociative. I mean, I believe her. I mean, the fact that the way that she behaved when she said that, she went into some like dissociative fugue state, and laughs at it. That's completely horrific. And she says like it's completely normal. Oh yeah, like every girl's sometimes guys accidentally choke their girlfriend to death during sex. It's just how things are.
Have you not seen this? Of course you've seen this.
Every girl's seen this. It's like, sorry.
Now there's two other things that I always like to bring up, because I think eventually this is going to be a story that comes out, or a charge that comes out somewhere. That's just complete speculation, but you combine that with the fact that Tate has said on tweets on his @Wudan or whatever it was account of Wudan, that he had to call Georgiana up in the middle of the night to help him with a body, and she came, no questions asked, and the fact that they live 1 block away from the neighborhood graveyard. You put those three things together, and it kind of makes your head scratch a bit.
Yeah, I wonder if those are connected.
Well, so what was it in 2020? This was published. Andrew Tate detained in a case of murder and drug trafficking. That was in Romania. I saw Crayons post that recently. They were trying to see if there was more information. I think that's when that one that you just said, common sense, we need help with the body. That was 2019.
Imagine, Brett. I mean, that I would think that these guys are at least smart enough not to brag about crimes like that. But the fact that they've bragged about all the other crimes they've committed, they can't help themselves. These must be the stupidest criminals I have ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen criminals this blatantly stupid. I can't.
One other clip that we used in Matrix of Lies is when Andrew and Tristan were on their rented yacht that they pretended that they owned. And it's just the two of them with two very young black girls. Late at night, everyone else has gone to sleep, it looks like. They're sitting there drinking, the blue light yacht video, right? This one. And they're talking about how the Paul brothers, Jake and Logan, don't respect each other, right? And Andrew starts shouting over top of Tristan, who's saying something different. And he goes, if you got a beef with my brother, then you got a beef with me. You got a beef with my brother, it's pop, pop, pop on sight. And he does like the gun thing with his fingers, right? Pop, pop, pop on sight. Like he's done this before, right? This is how they talk. But is how they talk in any way related to what they have done in the past? And if these things start meshing up, then you're going to see a whole lot more shit hit this fan.
So it's hard to tell where they're just trying to embellish and sound like they're badasses and, oh, I'm so cool, I'm such a G, I'm such a gangster, and then what's actually, and they'll lean into that too, right? And in the recent interview with Tate and some British reporter, she's asking him, she's quoting to him things that he's said, admitting crimes that he's committed. And he goes, he basically says, "Hey, I was lying about that," or he says, "I was embellishing" or something. She says, "So you lied," and he gets this sneaky, snaky, psychopathic, like Kubrick stare grin. Well, it's not exact. I don't know if I'd say lying, but everybody on Instagram uses filters. People have rented cars, this and that. But I think they're realizing. I think the reality is really starting to set in with the Tates, and this is why they seem more and more desperate. Their fans, sadly, are also reflecting that desperation of their internet daddy. The Tate fans are literally out there talking about, if there's hair down there, it's fair to play kind of stuff now. They're in my chat right now. We got Tate fans. I got like at least 20 tater tots that have been banned, making disgusting statements, even blasphemous statements about, young girls and whatnot. This guy talking about the age of no, it's completely insane to see how unhinged these guys are, the Tates, but also their fans. You guys in the chat, over here making these disgusting, even blasphemous statements. You guys need a wellness check. Y'all need an internet history check by the feds.
I'm just checking the live feed here. I don't see Nathan in his cube.
Where's Nathan?
You don't see me?
Are you there now? Oh, that's weird.
I can see you, on my iPhone where we're doing the back. Yeah. There you are. Okay.
Oh yeah, he's back. He's back.
I think it's generally interesting to think what will happen to their army.
Any predictions? Fans. Any predictions? Because these guys seem like they're going to prison. I can't imagine a scenario where these dudes are not in prison by the end of next year when these cases actually go to trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see them, you see those little moments where they're aware of how fucked they are. Like there was even a video of Andrew Tate in court, and you could see his knees were just shaking, just jittering, and he just looked like he was shitting himself. He just had, and then he'll step out of the court and do the whole like, blah, there's no victims, Matrix attack. But there's those moments where you can see that they're completely aware of how fucked they are.
Well, Tristan's really a bellwether, I think, in a lot of these cases. When they got released from their overnight after they got picked up this most recent time, he was a freaking deer in the headlight as Andrew was going off to the microphone. And today it was the other way around, where Tristan was going off and Andrew was just kind of sitting there, not saying too terribly much. And I don't know what victims Tristan is trying to convince people would have been in the court today, because the two tribunals or whatever, one was for the extension of Andrew's 30-day house arrest, so he's going to stay under house arrest for another 30 days, and the other one was the asset seizures. Why would any of their victims have been in the court for either of those two proceedings?
Can I read? Let me just read this out. This is what Tristan posted after that. He posted this: overheard one of my victims talking to a lawyer. She was saying how good I looked and how upset she was that she couldn't hug me, as we haven't seen each other in years. You can't make this up.
Yeah, you can, and you probably did, because who the fuck is going to do that? And what victim was supposed to be there in the first place? Who are we talking about? And can we say narcissist much?
They've lied about every single aspect of their criminal case. Even that's the crazy. That was the crazy thing for me. The early days. There's plenty of people who are in trouble and have criminal cases that they might lie about specific things to do with their case, to do with like victim statements or this or that. But the fact that they've lied about everything, including what they're charged with, really speaks. It says a lot. The fact that you can just clearly verify that they're absolutely blatantly lying. You compare someone like Crayons, who's been reporting on this for years now at this point, and compare what he's got wrong and what he's consistently got right to what the Tates have claimed about their criminal cases. To be able to see that list would be astounding.
Yeah. No, when it comes right down to it, if you're going to do an apples to apples on it, like for the investigative reporters like ourselves, like you, like Crayons, like Thoughts, like everybody else out there that's doing this, if we make 100 statements and only one of them is right, that's enough. But we're at like 95 to 97% accuracy on what we're saying. And even on the predictions that we've made with Vivian, with the other victims, with the tax evasion, with the money laundering, with all of it. I mean, those are predictions that we've had out there for 18 months now, and they're coming true now. But we were told at the time, you're just jealous. You're just a hater. You're just this and that. And it's like, no, you're not educated enough. And we got to start telling these tater tots this. You're not educated enough to have this conversation. So you go get educated. And if you watch this video and read this clip, and if you can get your hands on the indictment to read that, and you still have the same opinion of Tate, it would be I would be shocked that if anybody who read the indictment watched the PhD video that we started tagging people in nonstop on Twitter, like if any of these guys come at us and say, they're completely innocent, and how dare you, and all the rest of it, it's like, okay, watch this video and get back to us. And they don't, right? They just disappear. We're either ghosted or blocked because they have no comeback for that. They can't justify defending that. So you have to start calling these guys out on their ignorance. If you're not educated, you don't have a valid opinion. You can't, because you're talking to people who have forgotten more about Tate than you have ever investigated in your life.
I think the Tate brothers at this point know that they're pretty well fucked. They're gonna, of course, do their best to fight and kind of prolong the trial.
That's what they've been doing. They've been appealing over and over again. They don't want this going to trial because when these go to trial, I think DCOT has a 97% conviction rate or something insane like this for these human trafficking cases.
This would probably crack the 98, right? So because there'd be four more incarcerations.
Yeah, and you have the stages in Romania where you have the preliminary chambers where you submit all the evidence. So, DCOT submits everything they have, and then the judge is able to evaluate that. And the Tates are able to present their side of things as well to say, look, this wasn't gathered correctly. They broke something to do with this rule here, or that, this isn't evidence because of this, that it's wrong. It's taken out there and it shouldn't belong in there, and everything that DCOT presented, the judge has granted, saying, yes, this is legitimate. We're going to allow this to go to trial. Nothing that Tate's presented was valid enough to be able to discount any of the evidence that the DCOT presented. And I think you're looking at, 70 volumes in the first case?
75.
How many pages per volume?
1,000 pages to each volume. And then this one, I think it's something crazy like 134 volumes. You look at like
134,000 pages. So crazy.
Yeah. So like I think that's where at this point the Tate brothers are far more concerned with fighting for their innocence in the court of public appeal, and to try and maintain this appearance of them being innocent and the Matrix attacks and all that bullshit, to try and appease their fans. All they have is their fans at this place, at this point in time. That's all they have, So that's why they need to kind of keep them.
The fans are making. The fans are going nuts in the chat right now. We got Tate fans making threats in the chat, saying "We coming for you, cuh." We got a Tate fan LARPing as one of the victims, saying "We were never victims." We've got the Tate fans are going nuts. They're getting banned pretty quickly by the mod squad. Shout out to the mods. Thanks, OK, Slowboy Whiteboard, all the mods up in the chat who are keeping things clean in there. But it seems
they've definitely got more intense. Not only the Tate brothers, but the fans as well. I've noticed that.
Like a cornered rat, like when you find a rat in your cupboard and you kind of get it in the back of the pantry, it'll start hissing and kind of like puffing up.
Even Andrew Tate with his posts, it's more and more unhinged. He's posting more and more of this like race stuff.
Yeah, all the race baiting stuff is the new one.
Yeah, anything for engagement.
Yeah. Well, his new, the new crew that he's trying to court is Well, he made that tweet the other day saying like, "Oh, the white supremacists are right." He'll just drop the N-word now, like a hard R N-word, just for, I don't know, e-clout. I mean, this is how far down he's gone in the just trying to be an edgy, like a 4chan edgelord. I don't know who I mean, he thinks it's 2016 or something on 4chan on the internet these days, but he's really going for kind of fringe clout. And I don't.
Yeah,
I
also
don't
like
think it's gonna work out.
anything to get some sort of relevance, he'll
Yeah.
jump on. It's all like there was after that first Trump assassination attempt. You then see them do their podcast and their little mansion thing, and there's that huge Trump thing behind them.
I see that.
I was surprised they didn't have the bandage over the ear like all the Republicans at the convention.
Well, it's not. It's like whatever the hot new thing is, they're jumping on it, and I don't know. And here's the thing with the Tate fans too. They will make assumptions such as, well, if you're criticizing the Tates and pointing out how stupid of criminals they are, who have basically breadcrumbed authorities into this honeypot that is such an easy open and shut case of convicting these absolute retards of the crimes that they bragged about for years and years and years. If you point this out to them, they'll jump to this stuff like, oh, well, you must be a libtard. You're a feminist. You're one of the you're a Zionist. You're this and that. It's like, I mean, look, we've got three guys talking here who probably have a lot of different opinions on a lot of different things, right? We've got a lot of different opinions on a lot of different things, but all three of us agree that Tates are absolute scumbucket, retard douchebags who should be mocked, laughed at, and flogged in a Romanian prison for the rest of their life. And this is not something that we didn't reach this conclusion because we're uber feminists and we want to Me Too all the cool based guys who are jacked, and we don't like people who are fit and telling young men we told men not to do drugs and to make money. No, we don't like these guys because they are douchebags. These guys sold drugs. This is so, and you know what? Going back to what you said about Tristan's statement of like, you can't make this stuff up, when he obviously just made that up. Andrew Tate, I remember he was talking to like Candace Owens saying, look, if I wanted to sell out, I would have sold drugs. I've never sold drugs. I've never made rap music. I would have been a rapper. Bro, you made rap music videos. You bragged about selling drugs for years. You said you've got your finger cut by some other drug dealer, and now he's dead. Oh, ooh, what are we? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like everything they say, every accusation they make now, it almost seems like it's a projection at this point, right? The obsession over, oh, look at the elite. They're clearly the elite are diddling kids. So anybody who's against me must be a kid diddler, and then it comes out that
did you see
diddling
that
kids.
Did you see there was the BBC presenter who was found guilty of having child pornography?
Then he didn't get any conviction or anything. Not going to do.
Yeah, they suspended his sentence. But yeah, then Andrew Tate changed his profile photo to the guy and said like he was like chief nonce of like BBC.
Oh, okay.
It's just like, man, you're accused of trafficking, having sex with a minor,
So did you see what's happened in New York since we started up the space? Well,
I haven't.
Diddy arrested and indicted.
Oh, nice.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, that's like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I mean that's one that Candace has no problems. She has no problems.
Yeah, well, Diddy. I wonder whose crimes are going to be worse, Diddy's or Andrew's. I mean, the allegations so far seem like Andrew's are worse. Now, some of the stuff with Diddy with Justin Bieber back in the day, that gets kind of weird there. But like, yeah, it seems like Andrew's current allegations of a 15-year-old girl, do Diddy's even involve children yet?
Hey, innocent until proven guilty, guys. Yeah. Right? That's the standard.
Well, unless you're somebody we don't like.
Or we've actually read the words that are transcribed into your indictment, where you're actually talking about cutting the implants out of the girls before they're set on their way. That kind of shit. I want to go back to just for the audience. I want to go back to what you were saying about Tate trying to win over the court of public opinion. That might have some trickle down effect if there's a jury. but there's no jury in this trial. There's one judge who's used to dealing with this stuff. As far as he's concerned, all these crimes are pedestrian. They deal with this in Romania all the time. It's just they're not normally dealing with the criminals who have 10 million Twitter followers or whatever, right? But they deal with these crimes all the time. There's no jury to fleece, to get one guy in there that refuses to see the light of day, where you've got the guy who's just sent in to railroad the jury, and you've only got one guy or possibly one lady to hear all of it and render the decision, and it's a decision that they make all the time with that 97.7% conviction rate. So there's a lot of people out there think that because the Tates are walking around Bucharest that they're free men. They're not free men. Actually, Andrew's on house arrest and Tristan's on judicial control. But this case isn't breaking down. It hasn't been thrown out. It's not in any danger whatsoever of actually going to trial. There might be, if the most recent appeal is accepted, if there's something in there that needs to be reworked by October 15th before they announce the trial date, then it'll go back to DICOT. They'll rework it. They'll reword it. They'll drop a charge out of the multi-charge indictment, maybe, right, just so they can proceed. But it's going to proceed. They are going to trial. And then there's going to be another trial in Romania. And then there's going to be a criminal trial in the UK. And if the US gets up off of their ass, there'll be another criminal trial in the US. Because all of these underage girls, anyone under 18 that they bragged about taking the virginity of, or bragging about how it hurt when they had sex with them, or bragging about, all these different things that are nailed down in different statements, articles, interviews, podcasts, whatever. Every single under 18 that steps forward, they're facing 30 years if the U.S. Department of Justice ever gets up off of their ass. And I'm hoping that the only reason why they haven't so far is because they already know that Romania and the UK have got these guys dead to rights.
Well, can you give a quick summary of that UK case, because we actually haven't spoken about that yet. In the last few months, they were also served. Is it an indictment or a subpoena for that case in the UK?
What they were given was the UK was granted an extradition order for as soon as the Romanians are done with them, they'll step out of their jail cell onto a bus, onto a plane, and land at Heathrow, and then they're going to be under another criminal trial that's already ready to go. They don't send. There's a lot of people who think that because it's in the UK that there's confusion between the civil case, where there's 4 victims that were supposed to be investigated properly, their cases in 2014, 2015. But they've had to sue civilly. It's a different case with dozens of victims, and it's a criminal trial. And again, it's trafficking, it's rape, it's sexual assault, it's violence, and that trial is ready to go as soon as they set foot in the UK. Right, as soon as Romania is done with them, then it's another criminal trial. These guys are going to rot in prison until they die, and then they can burn in hell, as far as I care. But it's just going to be bam, bam, bam. Courtrooms are going to be the rest of their life. Courtrooms and jail cells. And anybody who thinks that anybody at this end of this conversation is jealous of that life, yeah, seriously, go reevaluate your life, because there's something wrong in your head.
It's a stupid low tier. It's not even an argument. It's just, you have no argument against what we're presenting. So then it's just, you throw some names out there and say, oh, you're a feminist, you're a secret feminist, which, I'm clearly not. Anybody who's watched my content and knows me, I'm not some secret super feminist, uber liberal, anti-male guy. Your e-daddy is a broken man. Your e-daddy is a broken man who teaches other broken men to go and break women, and then use those women to break men further, both psychologically, spiritually, and then monetarily. And he brags about it. So, we've got some of these tater tots who've got like 50 alt accounts that just keeps jumping in. It's like whack-a-mole in here in the chat with some of these guys. And it's funny because One of them, I mean, this guy, Milk Tea's Secret Society, has got how many different accounts you have over here to make apologetics for Andrew Tate defiling a 15-year-old, saying, "Oh, 15's legal though, bro. 15's legal." You got like, and then you get banned. You jump in on another alt to talk about how 15's legal. What's wrong with you, dude? There's something seriously wrong with you that you're putting this much energy into defending pederasty by a chinless, heartless, retarded person who can't keep himself out of trouble, a retarded rapist. I mean, this is, why are you doing this? Why are you spending your energy defending this douchebag?
And to be fair, and on the other side of that, we get asked all the time, why are you wasting your energy going after Tate like this? And I'll give you that answer.
For the Matrix money.
Yeah, well, okay, those checks aren't coming in. So if there is Matrix money out there, I'll send you our routing information. But
right.
As it is, the three of us and a dozen other accounts of note on Twitter, we're providing correct information as a public service, right? For the most part, not monetized. Like our episodes on YouTube about Tate, they get demonetized.
Oh, this is for sure getting demonetized. You guys, hey, where's your support, guys? Share the video, like the video, because YouTube's probably not going to share this. We're hitting all the wrong keywords here, and the monetization is not going to be on this one. So make sure to support through those super chats, y'all. I'll be stingy in the chat today. So throw some love with the super chats today.
But like personally, I've got like an unofficial nephew, a kid in the circle who calls us uncle and aunt and all the rest of it. And he came back from a couple weeks back east, and whoever he was staying with back there introduced him to Andrew Tate. So he comes back, and it's Andrew Tate this and Andrew Tate that, and women are stupid and blah blah blah. And the mom dragged him over and sat him down in front of my computer and said, "Show him that video that you guys made, because he's not leaving his house until he watches all three of them." And honestly, he watched the first one and half of the second episode, and he's like, "I'm done. Yeah, no, I don't need to see anymore. This guy's an asshole. I don't know what these kids were thinking, suggesting them to me." And if we can have that effect on one person a day, that makes it all worthwhile as far as I'm concerned, because that you're cutting off not just like one tendril, but all the tendrils that follow, right? And now that kid, who's a pretty big kid for his age, he'll set straight anybody in school who is going to try telling him otherwise, or is trying to tell anybody else otherwise.
It's a good point. A lot of kids.
You're probably the same common sense, where it's like I can't wait to no longer make any videos about Andrew Tate.
We had to take a mental health break.
To watch interviews, and it's like I would have never started making videos about Andrew Tate if Tucker Carlson and the reporters who interviewed them did what their job was supposed to be, and if the Tate brothers didn't just shut the fuck up and continually lie about every single aspect of their case and continually harass and try and dox all their victims, then there'd be no issues. If they just shut the fuck up and they were just like, "Look, we believe we're innocent, but we're going to let the the courts, let the process do its thing," then that'd be fine. But if they're continually, this idea, it's like Andrew Tate has 10 million followers, and he's continually lying about every single aspect of the criminal case, and saying there's no victims, and he's got his lawyer out there who's dropping laughing emojis underneath the stories about Andrew Tate's supposed rape victims. It's I'm sorry, there needs to be some amount of pushback. I don't think that's unfair.
So when they come out of court, almost
next episode, like I said, we went after McBride in the one that we're working on here right now, and there's going to be a call to action at the end of that to have him disbarred based on the lies that he's told. He's a complete embarrassment to the legal profession in the States. So wherever he's licensed, they actually have his New York registration license for the bar. And I'm going to put up on the screen, if you think that this guy deserves to be reprimanded, then here's the information and I'll leave you to it. But give people that information so they can go and do it, because this guy is just absolutely pathetic.
This is a lawyer, right, who as part of the Tate's legal team, they then sue one of the alleged trafficking victims. I mean, they attempted to sue two, even though one wasn't even American. They still tried to sue her in American court. And then what they did after they launched the lawsuit, they then published the legal documents on Twitter that contained everything, including the victim's name, address, every single bit of information. That then led the victim to go into hiding because they had, the Tate fans ended up rocking up at her house and harassing her. I mean, like, this is what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have shown over and over again that they have absolute disregard for the intelligence of the people receiving the nonsense that comes from them, right? I mean, the level of lies and the stupidity of the lies are just absolutely staggering. Like, I can't believe some of the lies that these guys have told. But I mean, these are guys who a couple years ago were saying, Tate would make statements like, "Hey, when I'm in Romania, I'm a Christian," right? So Romania is a majority Orthodox Christian country. And he says, "When I'm in Romania, I'm a Christian. When I'm in Dubai, I'm a Muslim." These are people who will adopt a facade of, in a veneer of certain worldviews or whatever niche they're trying to grift at the time in order to harvest them for resources, for energy, both, psychological energy and physical energy. But these are guys really who they went to an Orthodox Christian country with the intent of defiling young Romanian girls, bringing them into their cam girl harem, and exploiting men with them, right? Exploiting these women, but then also exploiting men with these women in order to harvest money from them in fraudulent ways. And they bragged about it. They'd go on podcasts and brag about how they would dupe guys, and they would be sitting behind the keyboard while these dudes are jerking off to cam girls. But it's really Andrew and Tristan Tate who are sending them, the sexy messages, right? These dudes are complete scumbags. And a lot of the guys that start to follow them because they see a few clips where they say something that resonates with them. They get the low-hanging fruit where they might, they'll make a critique on, cancel culture, or make some statement about, the general depravity in the world right now. And whereas the Tates might say some true things, it doesn't mean everything that follows their true statements are also true, right? They're poisoning the well with this stuff, and they're using those little true statements that they make in order to bait you into a shit-filled honeypot. And it's a dead end. It's a dead. All these manosphere dorks, Tates, the Rollo, these fresh and fit guys. I mean, these guys go out there and they talk about how, they make true statements about male-female dynamics, and how, dating these days is so is very difficult, especially for men with the way dating apps work and this and that. But then these guys are making their whole living by telling OnlyFans girls that they're naughty, and helping these OnlyFans girls to promote their OnlyFans to the guys that are watching these shows like Fresh and Fit. Like they wouldn't exist on the internet if it weren't for OnlyFans girls. But their whole existence is all about, we're calling these OnlyFans girls whores. I mean, these guys are hypocrites. These are losers. These are hypocrites. They call the Fresh and Fit dorks sit there and call these women whores, but they spend all their time with these whores, right? You're calling these women, you're awful, you're hoes, but you spend all your time chasing these whores. One of the Fresh and Fit dudes impregnated one and told her to get an abortion, right? He says, she's faking the pregnancy. She was never pregnant, but still tells her to go get an abortion. And he's supposedly, I think he calls himself a Christian. The other one says he's a Muslim. But these are grifters. These are grifters who are grifting you for money. They're adopting these positions that are popular in certain niches in order to reach an audience. And sadly, social media is a vehicle for that. It's a vehicle for bringing attention to things that grab attention. And sadly, the way people work is a lot of us are fall victims of our own desires to see spectacles. and our attention can get drawn to the wrong things for the wrong reasons, and that's what happens with the Tates. They might get you with something, say something vaguely true, and then you think, oh man, they're so cool, they're so based, they're so brave, they're speaking the truth, they're fighting the Matrix, they're criticizing the they stood up for Gaza. These people don't. You think the Tates really care about Palestinian kids? You think they give a shit about Palestinian kids? These guys
my
are
favorite. My favorite was after the Olympics opening ceremony, where they then took to the streets of Romania protesting, and they had like Andrew Tate had the little wooden stick with the image of the Last Supper thingo they did with the blue Smurf transvestite, and they were like, this is completely blasphemous to Jesus Christ and Christianity.
Even though Andrew's a Muslim, and Andrew's a Muslim, and Christ is blasphemous.
The Tate Bible that they sell, and he also pushed the. He's got like a meme with him on the cross,
Yeah, and it says Tate is risen. Tate is risen.
Yeah, you can find Tate. He's in the war room. He's risen. And he's got the stab wounds on the side. They stand for nothing. I posted a clip of Andrew Tate where he was doing an interview a couple of years ago, where he was just saying the West is done. He's like, the West is over. Cowards stay. I'm a hero because I ran off to Romania. You're a coward if you stay and try and fight for the West. It's over. This guy isn't a hero. This guy is completely motivated by self-interest.
Well, and how? So you're a hero because you run out to Romania. Romania is the West. And Romania is a NATO country. Like, what are you talking? Like, oh, I'm gonna go to Romania, battle the degenerate West. You're in the West still in Romania these days. Romania is very westernized.
Check out, but I wanted to leave you with one more thing here, talking about their charitable deeds and their good deeds and whatnot. So there's a couple of videos online, Instagram and whatnot, where Tristan is making a big deal about meeting Ukrainian refugees at the border with food and shoes and clothing, and he wants to go and help all the girls and the women and children, and he's going to go and be this charitable guy, right? Through the Tate Foundation or Tate Pledge or whatever it is that they call this shit. But it also has come out in the second indictment that the reason why Tristan was going to the Ukrainian border was with Luana, so that the two of them could recruit the Ukrainian teenage girls into cam work. That's why he was actually going to the Ukrainian border. So that shows who they are versus how they're trying to present themselves. And they have the text conversations and transcripts to prove it.
Absolute psychopaths. That's a great ender. Let's end on that one. We got Milk Bar TV. We got Common Sense Skeptic. Any last thoughts or shout out of where people can find you guys? We'll start with Nathan from Milk Bar TV.
No, just the Milk Bar TV on X. That's the best place for everything.
Cool.
And for us is at C_S_skeptic, because the other one was too long. That's on X. We're also on Threads. And probably in the new year, that's where we're going to wind up, getting the hell off of Twitter. And then Common Sense Skeptic is the channel on YouTube. Please check us out, subscribe, and we do have an episode coming out in the next couple of days, which is going to tear Joseph McBride and the Tate twins new assholes.
Well, I would love to see another addition to the Tate series, as well as, like, you've done a great job at editing mashups of their contradictory statements. Both of you guys, both Milk Bar TV and Common Sense Skeptics channels, and especially the Twitter feeds. Twitter feed's a little more active for sure, but you guys have done great jobs. And there's just so much. There's so much out there. Every time I look at something concerning the Tate case, and you guys have been all over it, but every time I look at something concerning the Tate case, it's dizzying how stupid these guys are. It's almost comical. It would be comical if it weren't so sinister. Like, as you mentioned, these young Ukrainian girls being sought out by the Tates at the border over there, when they're telling people in public that, we're philanthropists, we're just going to help them. We're bringing them some dumplings and some steaks at the border. All right, guys. Well, hey, everybody watching, make sure to like the video, share the video, do all that stuff. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And we will see you guys next time. We're out of here. Bye, guys. End the stream.